Welcome to episode 18 of the Take Two podcast, where this will be an everlasting love. I'm Kenny,
I'm Sam.
and today on the pod, Sam and I go head to head to build our Mount Rushmores of romantic comedy films. Let's go.
And we are back. We are ready to share our toxic masculinity for best rom-coms ever.
Happy Toxic Masculinity Month.
Yes, happy Toxic Masculinity Month. And we almost had some guest stars. We were going to have some female opinions, but then we just decided that what's the point? We're going to steamroll those opinions. So here we are. We got it.
We're on a real heater.
Yeah,
We've officially entered into the manosphere on this pod.
It's actually great because then we're not going to feel judged with a woman in the room, and we can really let our feelings out. And then, regardless of who's listening to this, man or woman, they'll be able to. Hopefully you guys will like our picks. So we're doing Mount Rushmore of rom-coms. Just me and Kenny. So draft style, we'll go back and forth, snake draft, and build our Mount Rushmores, and hopefully we come away with the best 8 rom-coms ever made. And if you've seen the films, you can hopefully enjoy or chime in with what we're talking about. And if you haven't seen the films, then lucky you will have a nice watch list.
Yeah. And the reason we're doing the pod is because Celine Song, a prestigious filmmaker, came out with her most recent rom-com movie in Materialists. My wife Jen and I saw it this past week. We liked it. I think that I will be interested. Put down in the comments whether or not you think that movie was actually a rom-com or not. Question number 1. Question number 2, put down in the comments whether or not you think Dakota Johnson can actually act, or if she should just make audiobooks because she has a very wonderful voice to listen to.
That was a very nice backhanded compliment insult you just gave Madam Web, Dakota Johnson.
Yeah. Madam, our Madam Web.
Yeah.
Dakota Johnson. So.
You know, and in our next episode, we're going to be going over the top 100 movies of the century that was voted, that New York Times released. And spoiler alert, Madam Web did not crack the top 100.
I know. Absolute snub, if you ask me.
Absolute snub. So why don't we get started? I'm excited. I've been thinking about this all day. Do you want to start with your first film? I feel like it's always scary because I feel like you're gonna steal one of mine, but hopefully not.
Yeah, I'll go first, and I think when I was thinking about how I wanted to go about making my Mount Rushmore, I was asking myself, okay, like what 4 criteria do we need to, like most criteria, if you will, that we need to meet. And I do think that there's one category of rom-coms that is very, very slim that I do feel like I need to get a pick out there right away. And that is when it comes to the modern rom-com, anything pretty much after the year 2000, I would argue it gets a lot more slim in your pickings. So I'm going to be starting with the modern comedy. What I'm going to put in my modern comedy.
Before you even say this.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Go ahead. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. I don't want you to change it. Hit it.
I'm going to take Ryan Reynolds, Sandra Bullock in The Proposal.
I'm gonna throw up. Gosh. I'm gonna throw up. I literally.
Oh my gosh!
I think I'm the only person in the world that dislikes this movie.
Do I need to send you to Sitka, Alaska, to this small town where this millionaire lives, to just really? I mean, name a movie. There are a few other movies, but this movie also belongs in a category of hate to love. I think that you could say that that's a category that belongs on a Mount Rushmore. And man, these two people really hate each other at the beginning of the movie. Ryan Reynolds really hates Sandra Bullock's gut because Sandra Bullock sucks.
I hate Sandra Bullock's guts. She is not a great actress. She's totally overrated. The dance scene in this movie that women love, they're like, oh, she's so fun. So cringy. I can't even, that scene is so cringy. Oh, I did not expect this movie to be on your list.
Wow.
But go ahead, continue with Alaska and two people that hate each other falling in love.
Yeah, I think this movie is great. I think that it has a lot of comedy in the sense of Ryan Reynolds is really good, and Ryan Reynolds also probably belongs on a Mount Rushmore just because of how much of an internet boyfriend he was in his time, and maybe still is in his time. I think that the movie, in terms of all the really kind of, it has a pretty stacked cast when you look at it. Like, whoa, all these people who are in it, it's kind of amazing. But it's one of the movies that I find to be the most believable hate to love relationship. There'll be another movie, hopefully, that I, fingers crossed, get to claim in this draft that is one up on it.
You know what?
But this
if your movies are anything like The Proposal, then I think you're going to be able to claim whatever you want for the rest of the way.
Yeah, but this movie it hits all of the high marks of a lot of rom-coms. You have like someone who's down on their luck. You have kind of this goofy kind of oh my gosh person, and in that case, the person in this movie is actually a man, which is kind of interesting. A little bit of a subversion there. It's not just like oh my gosh, like I'm just like a quirky girl. It's like no, like Ryan Reynolds is kind of this weird guy who he's trying to make it in writing, and he has this like conflict with his father in terms of his father wants him to come back and run the business, but he never wanted to do that. He always wanted to live in the big city. You have a lot of these tropes that are being hit in the rom-com, or like anything that kind of falls into that, like that Hallmark umbrella, if you will. This movie is in a sense maybe an elevated Hallmark movie where it's like, oh my gosh, big city person comes back to small town and finds love.
I think that's the problem it is for me. I find just a lot of cheese in this movie. And I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think elevated Hallmark movie is a good description of this.
But I think that that's also why it belongs on the list, right? Because Hallmark has Hallmark, if you will, also has a place on this list in terms of like what makes a rom-com. It's like, Christmas time rolls around or the holidays roll around, and you're telling me that your wife isn't going to snuggle up in a blanket and watch a few Hallmark movies?
I'll say this, Kenny.
Maybe not your wife. My wife will do that.
No, based on what you said you think Ryan Reynolds deserves to be perhaps on this Mount Rushmore list, and you chose The Proposal. I have no problem with Ryan Reynolds being on this list. I've got a problem with The Proposal being the movie on this list, seeing as though he has two significantly better rom-coms for me than The Proposal. And that's Definitely Maybe, which is an absolute gem. Like everyone I've met who has seen that movie is like, I love that movie. I don't really hear people say I love The Proposal, but I think it's a crowd pleaser. Like everyone really likes The Proposal, but definitely Maybe is like a kind of a hidden gem, I would say, out there. And it's better filmmaking. It's a little more serious. It's fun. And you want to talk about, like you were just mentioning, Christmas time, Hallmark. Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds is one of my favorite rom-coms of all time. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. It's got Anna Faris in it, and it is just unbelievably funny. And I find both of those movies way better than The Proposal. But you know what? I think The Proposal is a crowd pleaser. I think people are gonna love that pick. I'm just giving you my personal opinion. Pleaser,
it's like, sure, maybe there's like a better made movie, and like maybe artsy com kind of like deserves to be its own category on this list as well in terms of the Mount Rushmore. But I still think that, like you said, people only like The Proposal. And like when I talk to a lot of people, they say that they love The Proposal, and when I'm like, hey, what's your best rom-com, or give me a I was going around work and like asking people, I was like, hey, give me a rom-com that you think is top 5. And almost every single person put rom-com up in there, or put Proposal on that list. So
okay, I just want to know
people's champ here.
That's great. I just want to know if those people have seen Just Friends, if those people have seen Definitely Maybe, because both of those are better. Like Just Friends is way funnier, and Definitely Maybe is way more heartwarming and just a better film. So that's all I'll say about that. There's my pushback.
Fair.
Sorry.
Fair.
And you know what? There's some bias coming because I hate Sandra Bullock. Everything everything she's in, I don't like. She won Best Actress for. Okay, you know what? I won't go off on a tangent here. We'll save that for another time.
Man, hating Sandra Bullock is also a hot take when we're talking, because I mean, man, maybe, her and one other person on this list, maybe two other people on this list, is like talking some queens of the rom-com here.
Yeah, I just don't like her. I don't find her attractive. I don't think she's a good actress. I don't find her funny. I find her cringy most of the time. So there you go. Sorry. I hate Sandra Bullock. I don't hate her. I just, if I'm being as judgmental as possible of the actor, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, man, I'm really not playing to the crowds. I really just picked like my 4 here, but I think they all belong on the Mount Rushmore. So we'll see what happens here. All right. So this first movie, my first on this Mount Rushmore, is one of people always. My friends make fun of me. They're like, "Have you ever given a movie a 10 out of 10?" Like they literally troll me about it. They're like a great movie come out, 9 out of 10. They're like, "What is a 10 out of 10 for you?" This movie is a 10 out of 10 for me. It's one of my few like golden.
You're making me nervous.
Films. I've probably seen it, I don't know, like at least half a dozen times, maybe more. I can't find anything wrong with it. I love every shot, every word that's written, everything that's acted from beginning to end. And it's an indie film, so a lot of people will have not seen it, but it's 500 Days of Summer. And it's got
you had me really nervous.
Yeah,
I'm relieved.
Zooey Deschanel and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And it is a movie about Joseph Gordon-Levitt is sort of a hopeless romantic. He's always looking for love, and he works at a greeting card company. Which is just funny. Like he works for like Hallmark basically. And Zooey Deschanel arrives and he just like falls in love with her head over heels immediately. But she's not someone who necessarily believes in love. And it's really interesting to see those dynamics at play with each other as they get into a relationship with one another. And of all the films I've gone through, far and away, and it's not even close, the artisticness in this film blows everything else away in the rom-com category. They have just incredible scenes with art. Like there's a scene, like the music is on point. This whole soundtrack's amazing. Like you can go buy this soundtrack on vinyl. It's so good. There's like giant dance sequences in it. There's they play with like black and white color. It's just it's really funny throughout the whole film, but at the same, like it'll be really, really funny, but then it'll be really, really sad like moments later. And it's really unique in that it's 500 Days in Summer. It's like the amount of time their relationship supposedly lasts, and it jumps all over the place. It's not told chronologically, right? It might start at day 300 and we get to see what's going on. Then it might flip to day 40. And it's like we get to see, and we're putting the pieces together, and it's just an incredible film. I think it's the perfect rom-com, and I love it. If you haven't seen it, you have to see it. It's an amazing also breakup film. I think a lot of people, when they go through a bad breakup, they rush to the rom-coms, right? They're like, I need a tub of ice cream, guilty pleasure food, whatever. This is an amazing breakup film where it's like, it's going to give you all the feelings that work out, but not necessarily in a Hollywood version. Like The Proposal, like some other movies I've got on my Mount Rushmore that are really Hollywood. This one's going to like feel like it hits home. Like everyone will be able to relate to what goes down in this film at different moments. So for me, 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah. It's a movie I've actually not come around and seen. When I was doing my survey, quite a few people. I know quite a few people did bring up 500 Days of Summer. I think that those are two great actors, and I think that I'm sure it's a great movie. Unfortunately, I just can't speak too much to it.
Oh, well, this is depressing. Well, you know
you've
what?
Inspired me though. I'll go and watch it.
Kenny, you should know because this is one of my few 10 out of 10s. So you have to go see it now. It's like literally perfect.
Would you say that it would Jenna like this movie?
Oh, she'd love it. It's like, it's legitimately one of the best films I've ever seen. People ask me all the time, what's your favorite movie? And I'm like, Gangs of New York and 500 Days of Summer. Like, I know those are really weird.
Yin and yang.
Yeah, yin and yang. But I'm like, man, like, it is so good. Like, I've seen it so many times, and it's just a 10 out of 10. You got to go see it and get back to me.
Yeah. It's a good pick.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want me to go for my next pick?
You can go for your next pick.
All right. My next pick, when I was thinking through my list, I'm like, what else needs to be on a Mount Rushmore of rom-coms? And the answer was immediately clear to me. The first thing I thought about of what or who needs to belong on a Mount Rushmore of rom-coms, and that is the category of Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey, king of rom-coms. Like, people think of him as, like the whatever he is at, Texas University, Austin.
All right.
Yeah, people think of him in Wolf of Wall Street. People think of him in an amazing movie, Mud.
True
People
Detective.
think of him in Sahara. Yeah, True Detective. But he got his start in rom-coms. He was the ladies' man. Like, and man, the movie that I'm going to be picking, it's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. This is Matthew McConaughey at peak hot. This dude is just like, he's perfectly tan. He's like so suave. He's bringing that Longview, Texas drawl into every single sentence. He's golfing in his office. He's just like, he and his bros are just like really probably pretty terrible to women, honestly. But he meets his match. He meets his match in his counterpart, who is a journalist who is trying to write a story of how to lose a guy. She's a blogger, actually.
Kate Hudson.
I can't remember if she was a columnist or a blogger, but
I think she's a columnist.
But she's writing an article about how to lose a guy in 10 days. And she was like, oh, this is going to be a breeze. It's going to be so easy to lose this guy. Little does she know that she has also met her match. Yes. And these two people are trying to fight it out, trying to not break up with the other person, because Matthew McConaughey is known for having all these one-night stands, like not making it through. And someone makes a huge bet with him of like, I'll pay you $50,000 if you can stay with a woman for this amount of time. And so, they go through and they're just doing everything they possibly can to absolutely neg each other. And they just hate each other's guts, but they're like, she is trying to make him break up with her. She's doing all the most annoying things. She's like, they're at a Knicks game, and she asks him to go get a soda for her. Like, and it's the finals of a Knicks game, so he has to go get the soda. And she's like, but it's not diet, and he has to go back and get another soda. And he's so pissed off. Like, she's using all these like really annoying pet names like Honey Boo Boo Bear, just like really trying to embarrass him in front of his buddies. And he's like, no, I'm not breaking up. I'm not breaking up with this person. I'm trying to get the money. And through this time, through this grit, they actually come to respect one another and to actually end up loving one another. This movie is also even more maybe than The Proposal. I think that it's pretty tight for me, between neck and neck in terms of love to hate, or I should say hate to love. These two movies have it in spades, where it's just, they just cannot help but to be attracted to each other, to have chemistry with each other. And man, Matthew McConaughey can have chemistry with a brick wall. He's so good in this movie. I could go on and on about How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It's actually my personal favorite rom-com. My wife introduced me to this movie, and it's incredible. It might be the perfect rom-com. It might be the perfect rom-com. There's other movies on this list that may deserve that title as well, but I'll stop rambling. Matthew McConaughey's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Okay, I think I like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I really do. I think it's like a level above The Proposal for me. Like, I would put it like A tier for me. I don't think it's S tier for me, but A tier for sure. And I think what's really interesting is something you mentioned is that there's a double conflict of interest, right? The movie She's the Man, or no, sorry, She's All That back in the day with Freddie Prinze Jr. That really kind of set the kind of almost, it was like a, She's All That was like a stereotype of rom-coms, like high school rom-coms, but it also kind of set this new bar of like, a character is going to have a separate motive getting into a relationship. And I think it's interesting what you said and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, that there's a double conflict of interest there. So we get to see it played from both sides simultaneously without either side knowing, which is really unique and really fun. It's very Hollywood, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's also the main trope of pretty much every single rom-com that the main plot driver is either deception or miscommunication. Like that's what all of these, like there is no rom-com without a central miscommunication. And I think that actually like the challenge of the modern rom-com is how can you make two people more believable who will actually communicate with each other and still have the drama. I think that this movie has that in spades, because that's the pinnacle of the movie is when she finds out that he had a bet.
Yeah.
He finds out that she was writing this column all
along. Yeah, I really like this movie. So that's a good pick. It's another one for me that's like, I think you're so right, where like Matthew McConaughey, that's where he got his start. So it's like hard not to put him on, like, none of his movies even came close to cracking my list, but I also see.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know, but I also,
you don't have a single Matthew McConaughey. Like you're not gonna rank a Matthew McConaughey movie.
Not even my top 10. Not even my top 10. And again, it's nothing against Matthew McConaughey. I love Matthew McConaughey, and I like all those. I think he probably elevated most of those movies he was in, but they're just the films themselves aren't Mount Rushmore. But I totally think that's a good pick. Like, especially again, I think it's a huge crowd pleaser, and I think like you're not going to find someone who dislikes that movie. So I'm going to play off that movie for my second pick. So you went with How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I'm going to go with 10 Things I Hate About You. This is S tier for me. I watched it about a year ago. I've probably seen it like 4 or 5 times. And when I've seen a movie that much, and at this point in my life, when I know I love a movie, almost when I'm watching it 4th or 5th time, I'm there to enjoy it, but I'm also there looking for cracks. I am looking for anything that I'm like, is this movie as good as I've always thought it was? And 10 out of 10, watch it with Lauren, nothing wrong with the movie. Just a perfect teenage rom-com. You got Julia Stiles when she was at her peak before she sort of like quit acting, and she was like really towards the top of like Hollywood at that time, and she's awesome. And then you have Heath Ledger, who's just gorgeous in the movie. Like this is around like A Knight's Tale, and he plays kind of this bad boy Australian dude, and that has all these rumors about him. And again, you get something similar, like we were talking about, another bet, right? This guy is getting paid money to try and go out with this girl because her family has a rule where her younger sister can't date unless she's dating because she's become a recluse. And so, long story short, he gets paid to go out with her, and they fall for each other. But then, of course, the miscommunication, the deception, the bet, like you said,
she finds out about the bet.
She finds out, but it is a hilarious movie from beginning to end. The style is just like peak late 90s, early 2000s. Like, if I could be transported into that world, I would. The high school where it's shot at is just gorgeous. It's right off the ocean. It's
like an unbelievable spot.
It's unbelievable.
I don't even believe that it's a high school.
It actually, so I looked it up after the last time I watched it because I was thinking the same thing, and it is actually a high school. It's a public high school. It's still running.
That is crazy.
So cool. And it's just perfect to me. I think it's so funny. I think you can watch it as a teenager. You can watch it as an adult. It's just charming, hilarious. And I think it has one of the most iconic endings, probably probably one of the, like, I couldn't say it verbatim because it's like a long quote, but you always have the long dramatic speech at the end of any rom-com, right? Where, and it's usually the girl pouring her heart out, like ultimately, and making the guy feel like crap. And then they get together. Well, she gives this, you don't know the title of the film. 10 Things I Hate About You. It's kind of just like, okay, it's a sweet title, but you don't know why until the very end of the movie. She gets in front of her class. This girl who has shown no emotions and she's just really snarky with everybody wants to share a poem in front of the class in their literature class, and goes through this poem that she wrote saying like 10 things I hate about you. And it's not 10 things she hates about him, right? She's like, I hate the way you look at me when you're teasing me because it melts me inside. It's like 10 things she actually loves about him. So it's a twist on the title, and we find out at the end. And oh, I just love this movie. I love Heath Ledger so much, like R.I.P. And I think this is one of his best roles. And so yeah, I went with this over Brokeback Mountain.
Wow.
So
not very woke of you, Sam, to take this over.
Not woke of me at all. But okay, there you go.
I was trying to think of things to poke in your argument for 10 Things I Hate About You, but I think you're spot on. I think it's an incredible pick. I really can't think of much against this movie. Heath Ledger is incredible. He cooks. I was actually trying to think of a movie that I don't like a Heath Ledger movie that I don't like, and I couldn't think of one. I think my least favorite is probably The Patriot, and I still love The Patriot. So
yeah, I love The Patriot too.
He is so good. This movie also checks a lot of boxes, right? This movie checks box. 90s rom-com. This movie checks high school rom-com. This movie checks Hate to Love. This movie is it is really, really good. So I mean, and hats off. It's a great pick.
I want to ask you one question before you go next, because we're probably not going to get around to another Heath Ledger mention this podcast.
Yeah.
Could we, this is one I debated, it's one of my favorite movies. Could A Knight's Tale be considered a rom-com? That's my question.
Yeah, and I think I thought about that. There's a few on here that I had considered. I ultimately ended up not also doing Miss Congeniality, because I think that you can kind of debate both for the same reason, where ultimately I do think they're probably more action movies. There is a love interest involved. I think that actually Knight's Tale. Okay, so Knight's Tale is Heath Ledger plays a. It's been a while since I've seen it. He plays a stable boy who somehow ends up in some form of hijinks in this knight's armor, and he has to compete because his knight, like the person that he serves, ends up dying somehow, or is unable to.
He dies.
He's unable to compete, and so he has to like uphold his thief's honor basically, and he goes and. Oh my gosh! Like,
I don't want to go too much off, but
Paul Bettany plays this.
Paul Bettany's hilarious. The movie's amazing. It's one of my favorite. Like, they don't make movies like that anymore. It's a really
that movie introduced me to Queen.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really like they mix like modern rock with like the Dark Ages. Like, they do some awesome stuff. But okay, we won't go on too much of a tangent. So, what is your third pick for your Mount Rushmore?
So third pick for me, the third category, I do think, kind of like you had 500 Days of Summer, I do think Artsy Com belongs in this list. A lot of like the more subtle, more quiet movies.
I think you might steal one of mine. Go for it.
And the movie I'm going to go with is About Time with Donald Gleason.
Okay, thank goodness.
So About Time is a time travel movie. Donald Gleason is a part of this family who the men in his family have this ability to go back in time, basically. And the big thing there is to not like, and they can do whatever they want. Like, a lot of the rules that you typically have around time travel are kind of a little bit thrown out the window here. They can kind of do whatever they like. They can change history as much as they want. And he falls in love with, now I always get Rachel McAdams.
It is Rachel McAdams. It's
okay.
Rachel McAdams.
Amy Adams and Rachel McAdams I get mixed up for some reason. Rachel McAdams plays a love interest. Donald Gleason is playing his very typical, like, kind of geeky self, but he's in London and he meets the gorgeous Rachel McAdams,
Yes.
and they meet at a nightclub, and he messes it up the first time. So he goes back and he does it right, and he continues to do this. There's all these steps through the relationship where he continues to, like, go back and tries to fix things, and like she'll go away and he'll be like, oh shoot, I need to go back and fix that, so that she doesn't leave him. And there's a bunch of different parts to this too. His sister plays a huge role in the movie, where there's a bit of a tragic backstory. I know this is a movie a lot of people have seen, so I'm trying not to spoil it, but
Yeah, don't spoil it too
the
much.
but the end of the message of the movie, the end of the movie, is that his dad isn't doing well. His dad's about to pass, and he's trying to find some, like, last wisdom from his dad. And his dad basically just says, like, be present, like, don't abuse this power that you have. And the movie ends in a really, like, beautiful reflection on life of how this guy ends up using his powers later on, where the older he got, the less and less he started to use the power. Like, sometimes he begins to only go back in time, not to change anything, not to tweak anything, not to optimize his life or to make anything better, but he goes back in time just to soak up the life that it is.
Yeah.
And it's a really beautiful movie, great soundtrack, great acting.
Can I respond to this? Can I respond to About
Yeah.
Time?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to say about Time. A beautiful movie, like you just said. A wonderful movie that I think everyone should take the time to watch. I think it's a little too long. That's just my personal opinion. I've never had the desire to rewatch it, but I definitely would, 100%. Here's why I did not even consider this film at all. Is I do not find this film a rom-com. I find this film romance. This is like
so the comedy
doesn't
land for you.
There are lighthearted moments in it, but I see this as more, I think the genres that come through hard here are sci-fi and romance. Just as though there's some charm and some lightheartedness in The Notebook, I wouldn't call it a rom-com. And that's how I feel about Time. Is I think if we were doing a Mount Rushmore of pure romance films, this would be likely on my Mount Rushmore. And that's the only, I actually wrestled with this film a lot leading into this podcast. And I know a lot of people might label it as a rom-com. I just can't. The comedy doesn't come, that element doesn't come through enough for me. So it's like, you know, I think that's one of the hardest things about making the rom-com Mount Rushmore list for me, was picking and choosing movies where I was like, is this a rom-com? Does this meet Kenny's 4-tier box checklist of qualifiers? Like, and for me, it's like, the red flag just goes off for me on that one. But I think it's a good pick. To me, it's just romance. So
interesting.
But it doesn't take away from the movie for me at all.
Yeah, I think that I have heard that for several other people that I've talked to who have seen this movie, which again, it's not a very popular movie. I've heard that take a lot, where just the comedy doesn't really work for them. It is a much more subtle movie, like, and I think that could be considered a knock, because rom-coms in general are just, like, so blatant and proud of what they are, which I think is wonderful and great, and they're very earnest in what they are. This movie is a lot more subtle. The comedy still works for me, just like the nature of him, like, going back, and the hijinks of him trying to, like, fix his life.
Yeah, I think
really funny, and I think specifically for me, the reason why it lands the way that it does is just like, how many times do I feel like I want to go back in time and be like, oh, I just wish I would have done something different? Or I think it, like, he even has moments in the movie where, like, you know, whenever you have an argument with someone and you, like, are ruminating on it late at night, and he has, like, you know, you have this, like, oh, I wish I would have had this comeback. Like, there's times in the movie where he'll just, like, go back and he'll say that line, and he'll actually, like, absolutely zing the person that he's arguing with.
Yeah, it definitely has those moments. I just, like, I don't think humorously too much about it, but the concept, it's one of the best Groundhog Day,
time traveler's wife,
it's one of the best ones. Like, that is a super unique, and like it just, I feel like this movie hits feels really hard. Like this will, by the end of this film, like it's hitting you in your feels hard, which like maybe too hard for a rom-com. So, but I think it's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Yeah. There's another movie I want to talk about, but we'll talk about it in honorable mentions because I'm curious if it's going to end up on your list. So what's your next movie?
Okay. So my third is also another one of my 10 out of 10s. Okay, in my life. So this is a 10 out of 10 movie. I've probably seen this one at least 10 times. I've seen it like with the extended scenes. I've watched the deleted scenes. I think this movie is probably one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and also happens to be one of the best romantic comedies ever. This is the funniest romantic comedy. And yeah, it's Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's a Judd Apatow film when he was just on top of the world. It's Jason Segel. Anyone who doesn't know who Jason Segel was, like he's been in a lot of Judd Apatow films, but he was in what's the How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother.
He's the big giant oaf in How I Met Your Mother, and he's really goofy
Marshal
in that show.
How to Met Your Mother,
he's Marshall, not a How I Met Your Mother expert over here. And Mila Kunis is in the movie. Kristen Bell is in the movie. Bill Hader is in the movie. There's a long list of, like, you would recognize all these people from a bunch of Judd Apatow films, from SNL. Paul Rudd's in the movie. Just who else? Russell Brand is in the movie when he was popular. He's hilarious. And it's basically it's the colors are beautiful. It's pacey. It's fun. And essentially Jason Segel is a music composer for his girlfriend's show, Sarah Marshall, played by Kristen Bell, who is basically on like the star of a CSI Miami show. And the show's really popular, and they've been loved and dating forever. And he makes the music for the show, and he thinks everything's great. One day she shows up and she's like, I want to break up. And it just destroys him. Like, absolutely destroys him, derails his career. And his friends are like, you need to go on vacation. You need to get away. Like, you're obsessed with her. You won't leave your room. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll go to Hawaii. So he goes to Hawaii, and he gets there, and Sarah Marshall's there. And he can't believe it. He's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. Like, this is like fate that you're here. And out comes Aldous Snow, played by Russell Brand, who's like the world's biggest rock star at the time. And they're together. And it's been like a few weeks. And they were dating for years. And he's like, oh my gosh. So basically the film is he's stuck at a resort while his ex-girlfriend is there. And they're like right next to each other in the hotel room. And it's just a guy trying to get over, dating, like losing this giant celebrity in his life, who he had this relationship with forever. And it's Jonah Hill's in the movie, like everyone you can think of in this movie. And it's amazing when you have someone like Jonah Hill playing a side character that's in 3 or 4 scenes, because he's one of the funniest people in the world. He's a great actor, and he nails every scene he's in. That's how everyone is in this movie. Like, no matter how small, like Bill Hader's one of the funniest people ever, and he's probably, again, in 4 or 5 scenes, and he crushes everything. And it's just the funniest I've ever seen. And if I could write a romantic comedy, if I could ever write something like this is the best. Like, if I could put one thing out into the world, this would be it. So Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah. It's a good pick. It's been a little bit since I've seen that movie. Can you remind me? My biggest argument with this movie is I kind of forget about it. Like, it's not my favorite Judd Apatow movie. It's not my favorite rom-com movie. So it kind of like it's Judd Apatow. You've named the cast. Like, it's hilarious. It's very funny. It's very well made. It's just something that I kind of like have stored back in like my brain palace. So I've just forgotten a lot of things. Can you remind me? Does he end up again with Kristen Bell?
I can't say. I don't want to spoil the movie. If you don't remember, you should go watch it. I've seen it 10 times, and it's one of those films, like we did Wes Anderson last week. It's one of those films for me that every time I watch it, it gets funnier and funnier and funnier. So if you're looking for a good laugh but also feel good, go rewatch Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
it kind of scratches to that, like, you were talking about it earlier, the breakup movie. Like,
Yes,
this is a good, like, breakup movie to get out of, but like a pint of ice cream and just go to town. Because like,
absolutely.
like anyone who has ever dated anyone and it didn't end up in marriage, you kind of get, you understand the self-flagellation that uh uh Jason Segel kind of goes through in this movie. So
I'll also say too that comedy is obviously subjective, and so
mhm.
I think whatever happened in this film is like one of my I like all different types of comedies. I'm pretty open to most comedies, but like this just hit for me.
Yeah.
Everything hit for me. And this is the first movie we've mentioned that's rated R, right? Like this, it's Judd Apatow. There's gonna be some raunchy stuff in it. There's gonna be some F
Mhm.
bombs. There's gonna be some jokes that might not hit with you. Like I think if they made this movie today, they'd probably pull out like a handful of jokes. Kristen Wiig's in the film, like, but they're really funny. So
Yeah.
it kind of
This movie,
depends.
I think it definitely hits on the like, for me, it hits on the comedy. It's a really funny movie. I think that I'd be curious what people think. Put it down in the comments about, like, does this movie hit a lot of the romance notes that you're looking for?
No. For
Because
me, it does.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Okay.
but okay, let's move on to your final pick.
Okay, last pick. The last category, arguably the most important category I've saved for last. This movie still is on the board, and I am absolutely thrilled. The the category is 90s rom-com. I was like, I need a movie that is, quintessentially a 90s rom-com. And so I'm like, well, what do I need? You know what I need? I need Tom Hanks. I need Meg Ryan. I need You've Got Mail.
Oh my gosh, you're going with You've Got Mail. All right, yeah, You've Got Mail. I love it.
So
It's a heartwarmer. Go for it.
yeah, great movie. Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, they haven't really ever met each other. They met each other through this, like, email chat group, and they're pen pals basically for a really long time. And they kind of develop this relationship and develop expectations of who one another are over email. And when they finally meet each other in person, they don't actually know that it's the person that they've been writing, and they dislike each other. They butt up against the reality of this ideal man and woman that they have created in their minds, and they have to wrestle through that. They both are in different spots in their work. She owns a is it a bookstore,
Bookstore, and
bakery,
he's trying to put
books.
her out of business, but he doesn't. They don't
Yes.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, he's big corporate trying to buy out this independent bookstore in New York City. New York City also could have been probably a qualifier on this list, a
For
category on
sure,
this
for
list
sure.
for movies set in New York City. This movie kind of checks that off. Um, the reason why I think this movie works more for me than Sleepless in Seattle, the other movie that we could have talked about.
I thought you might go towards Sleepless in
We were building
Seattle,
up towards Sleepless in
or I
Seattle.
thought you were going to go
I,
towards When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, yeah. Harry Met Sally as well. Could this movie checks more of the boxes for me, and I think that this movie is probably my most, like, it's probably the least crowd pleasing pick that I think that I've made out of the four movies I picked. This movie speaks a lot to me just because of this movie is very poignant in how it's like the ideal of a relationship versus the reality of the
Mm-hmm.
relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
how these two people have to come to terms with who the other person is and meet each other where they're at
Mm-hmm.
in order for it to move forward. And
Yeah.
so I think that lands very strongly in, like, the world that we live in, where you're sorting everyone. If you, like, Jen and I met on a dating app, and so it's just like you go through and you can, like, sort through all of these. Oh, I know, gutted. So but it's one of those things where it's like
Not a real
it's very
relationship.
easy to treat love like a commodity. And I think that in this movie, they just build this ideal for each other. And they're like, they want this person to meet this mold. But guess what? At the end of the day, they throw their list away and they realize that, no, this is still the person that I love. This is still the person I want to be with. So
Okay.
You've Got Mail.
You've Got Mail. I like it. It's a really bold Mount Rushmore choice for me, but I appreciate that you kind of split your movies up into different sort of quintessential categories. So I appreciate that. But would it have made my list? No. Now I'm gonna say I'm gonna say my final one here.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna I'm gonna say I struggled with this all day, and my runners up to this spot really quick.
Oh, we need to do honorable mentions.
We will. I've got really like, I'm gonna say my runner. I'll say one runner up that is gonna be. So this was almost my fourth. Was Crazy Stupid Love with Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell. Another one in there. Another Steve Carell 40-year-old virgin for me was right there, like right there
too.
And also Pretty Woman was right there. I think that's maybe the most quintessential 90s. Julia Roberts, yeah, and she was the queen of rom-coms in the 90s, right? And so it, like, Notting Hill, Runaway Bride, she just went on, and so I
hate Runaway Bride.
Yeah, I know. That's really funny. So I didn't pick those three, but they were right there. I ended up going with Silver Linings Playbook, with Bradley Cooper, with Jennifer Lawrence, with Robert De Niro. Yeah. I saw this movie.
This was the movie that I wanted to mention earlier, so I'm so glad that you picked it. Let's talk about it.
I went through a rough breakup right when this film came out, and it hit me. Like, I saw it the first night it came out in theaters, and it hit me so hard. And I went back and watched it again in theaters. It was so good. And so I've probably seen this movie 3 or 4 times. And Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence have incredible chemistry. Like, just some of the
almost shockingly so.
Yeah,
like, they're not two people that you would pair together.
No, and that is why this movie works. Is because even in the film, their personalities are similar in that they both are
both depressed.
They're both depressed, but they're not necessarily somber depressed. They have high tempers, high energy. And so how they react with each other and other people is very volatile. The people around both of these characters love them very much, but know they've both gone through a lot. And this movie is also a lot about family, and Chris Tucker's also in this movie, and these families want these people to succeed. They've been hurt so badly in 2 different ways that weren't their fault whatsoever.
Yeah, for people who haven't seen this movie, when we say they're depressed, like, we mean clinically. Like, they are diagnosed depressive. So in the movie. And for good reason. So Jennifer Lawrence's husband dies. She's young. Like, her husband who she loved dies. Bradley Cooper has been with his wife for a long time. They're both teachers and they've got a great life. And she cheats on him with, like, another teacher and ruins their whole relationship and their life. So, like, and just out of left field, right? And so basically the movie, it's more artsy. It's really well written. It feels more realistic, and it takes place in Philadelphia. And all these, they're all like diehard Eagles fans, which is really funny because, like, Bradley Cooper actually is like a diehard Eagles fan. And Robert De Niro does a great job. He kind of randomly was nominated for, like, best supporting actor for this film, which, like, I was like, whoa, that's a little much. He's good.
He is.
No,
he's really good. It's just you don't think of he's really good. I guess you just don't think of a rom-com supporting actor like for Robert De Niro. Usually when you think of, like, Robert De Niro, you're thinking of, like, a freaking heavy movie or something. But he's great, and I think both Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence could have won Academy Awards for their roles in this movie. This movie would be near a 10 out of 10 for me, if not for one scene that drives me crazy that I noticed, like, the first time I watched the film. It's the only thing that bugs me. There's a really emotional scene, and he has a necklace on, Bradley Cooper does, and in the next and they cut to Jennifer Lawrence and they cut back to him and the necklace is behind him in the next shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the next shot, it's back and it drives me nuts. It literally drives me insane. And that's why it's not a perfect 10 out of 10. But
it was nominated for 8 Oscars. I just looked it up.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's great.
It's an incredible film. So a review of mine. I had 500 Days of Summer, 10 Things I Hate About You, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Silver Linings Playbook. And Kenny, yours?
Yeah. And mine was How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, About Time, You've Got Mail, and The Proposal.
Yeah. So two, I think, really different lists, which is really fun. I'm interested to see what you guys think. Leave a comment. Is there anything that shouldn't have been on here?
Yeah, I'm so pleased that Silver Linings Playbook ended up on the list. This was the other movie I had under my like artsy comedy or category under About Time. Like this movie it's a super thought provoking. But let's talk about some honorable mentions. Let's get to some honorable mentions.
Yeah, and I already kind of mentioned some earlier. Definitely Maybe, Just Friends, Crazy Stupid Love was right there, Pretty Woman was right there, 40-Year-Old Virgin was right there. I'd say the only two I want to ask you if you'd consider this a rom-com or not. And then another one that I just want to talk about for 2 seconds is called They Came Together. It's an indie, I would say it's more just indie comedy, but it's got Paul Rudd and who's the chick from Parks and Recreation, the main chick, Leslie Knope?
Rashida Jones? Amy Poehler.
Amy Poehler. It has Amy Poehler, and it's really funny. Like I would say it's like a 7 and a half out of 10. Like I'm not putting it high. But it is, if you're looking for a movie that's satire of rom-coms, this is so funny. It's so over the top, but it's like it's always streaming somewhere. If you see it, They Came Together, go watch it because it's so funny. And then the last thing I'm going to ask you about is can you consider this a rom-com or not? American Pie.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's tricky because I think if you ask, is American Pie a rom-com, does that mean Superbad is a rom-com? It's all about getting laid, right? Both those movies are like, hey, how do we get laid? And so
here's what I'll say though. Here's my case for American Pie when you compare it to Superbad is American Pie, like you said earlier, we got to have, some deception. So these 4 guys make a pact. Yeah. We all got to get laid by the end of the school year, when's it going to happen? Prom night. So we got to find our targets. We got to change our personalities. We got to figure out a way to make it happen. And we get to follow basically like these 4 guys going into different relationships with people. And it's almost like we see, instead of that happening with one couple, that crux where they're all like, oh, you made a bet? What's going on? We get to see it with 4 different people. And so it's kind of fun in that way, but you could also very easily say it's just like pure comedy. So
yeah. I think this one lands in pure comedy. I think there's quite a few of these movies where it's just like make a pact and go do it. Still hilarious.
Yeah.
Nothing
okay. What are your honorable mentions?
So honorable mentions, the other Matthew McConaughey movie I was considering was Failure to Launch.
Yes.
Him and Sarah Jessica Parker, really, really good. I think that movie is so funny.
I really like that movie.
All the stuff that goes wrong with him, like he goes rock climbing and then he gets bit by like a little chipmunk and he falls.
I think I might like that movie more than How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And I know that's weird, but it's kind of like
no, it's good.
I think it's a little, it's good.
They
I like
are
the colors.
actually kind of similar where they're like, it's actually another movie where there's the double deception and it's another movie where Matthew McConaughey is like not interested in a long-term relationship and ends up in one.
You also get, he was really just trying to show who he is. You also get Bradley Cooper in that movie. You get Zooey Deschanel in that movie.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And they're both really funny.
Bradley Cooper's so funny.
Yeah.
Great pick. I also had so another movie that I was like, man, I kind of hope it ends up on a list, but I think there's Princess Bride, I really, 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 really debated, and I'm
Me too.
really bummed actually that it didn't end up on the list because it's like it is a rom-com. I
I
think it
so that's
qualifies.
why I didn't put it on. I couldn't
Yeah,
qualify it as a rom com. I know people do. Listen, my son, my only begotten son, Wesley, is named like heavily after Wesley from The Princess Bride.
yeah,
I watched this movie for like the 10th time before he was born because we were like, I think this is the name. And I wanted to show Lauren, I was like, hey, this is why I think he's one of the greatest characters ever written. I think he's amazing. I've read the book, I have it right behind me here. I think this movie's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's perfect from
yeah,
beginning to end. I just, and it is hilarious. I just
yeah,
couldn't put it in it's like a Knight's Tale. I just couldn't put it in that rom-com. It's like there's so much. It's almost like the guy sits down, he goes to read this book to his son, Freddie Savage, or Fred Savage, who's sick. And he's like, oh, what's this book about? I don't want to read a romance. He's like, oh no, this isn't a romance. There's action, there's sword
yeah,
fighting, there's all these things. And so the grandpa almost convinced me that it's not a rom-com, but then also throughout
yeah.
the book he's constantly like weaving the romance back in there, and he's like,
Right.
oh, you want me to skip the romance? He's like, oh no, you can actually.
It is both of these two characters' odysseys toward to getting back to
Yes.
their true love. Like this movie is about true love. This movie is about how love endures. This movie is, and it is also about expectations, right? Like she runs into the Dread Power Roberts, and she's like, "Oh, you're a rapscallion, you're a scoundrel," and then it's revealed that it's Wesley, it's her love, and she's like, "What have you become?" And they have to wrestle through that. Also, this movie is like I'm having a hard time thinking of another movie that is more quotable. Like, can you
Oh,
name
that I
another more
mean,
quotable movie
no,
than Princess Bride?
no, I don't know if I
Maybe
can.
Spaceballs, maybe,
No, no,
but like,
not more. It is Spaceballs is crazy quotable, but I don't know if it's as quotable as Princess Bride. And I'll say this would have slid in above Silver Linings Playbook for me had I been able to convince myself it was a rom com. Even on the
yeah,
book, right? It's Princess Bride, a tale of true love and high adventure is what it's in, which is
yeah,
honestly the coolest like colon after I've
yeah.
ever heard.
It's an incredible
True Love and High Adventure.
subtitle.
What the hell? I want that. But like it wasn't like True Love, High Adventure, and Great Laughs. So like even though it is funny. So I just couldn't get
Yeah,
over it, but I think I'm so glad you mentioned it.
yeah. Another movie that I had on the list was these two movies I kind of went back and forth about. Clueless. One of them is Clueless. One of Clueless is,
It's too much
Paul
of a
Rudd
comedy. It's too
and
much of a
Drew
comedy.
Barrymore. It's too much of a comedy, and like there's like a category of these movies that I kind of had to like throw away,
Like
and I
Mean
was like
Girls. That's
debating it.
Mean Girls.
Yeah, Mean Girls is the same way. Miss Congeniality
Yeah.
was a movie I'm
No.
like, this is not quite a rom-com.
No.
Legally Blonde is
No.
another movie that I'm like, it's really not a rom-com because
No.
it's not about ending. It's not about like both of them riding off into the
Right.
sunset together. In terms of the modern comedy, I think there's a few on here. I think that they're notable, but I'm like happy with the fact that they didn't, not happy, but I'm totally okay with the fact they didn't end up on our list. Crazy Rich Asians, I really enjoyed that movie. And then did you ever watch the Netflix movie To All the Boys I Loved Before?
I didn't. Lauren has I when I was going through the list, I mentioned it. She said she really liked it. She was like, not Mount Rushmore, but she was like, it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good movie. It's one of the like rom-coms just have not, it's again
Hit
like since the
recently.
90s I just feel like they're not as good, or they keep trying to do this thing where they're trying to subvert the genre, and I think it's probably
Yeah.
why like what's the movie with Glenn Powell and
I know what you're talking about. I never saw it.
Sydney
It
Sweeney,
didn't. I
what
think I watched like 5 seconds of it and it looked terrible. I was like, I can't do
it was.
this.
Jenna and I enjoyed it. I can't, what's that movie called? I don't remember what the movie is called. Like what
It
it
seems
is.
really
It's just
good.
the
It
Sydney
seems
Sweeney
really good.
Glenn.
We can't remember
Yeah,
the name of it, but it's really good.
yeah. But that was, I mean, I'm not saying it was really good. I'm saying that it was probably like the best rom-com in quite a long time.
Okay. The Big Sick
Any
is really
other-
good too. The Big Sick is really good.
yeah, Big Sick.
Indie rom-com. It's really good. But
Yeah.
yeah, we should probably wrap it up since we're almost at an hour. But it was super, super fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Mount Rushmore of these rom-coms. Did we miss anything? What were good picks? What were bad picks? Let us know. And yeah, that is it from us. And please join us next time as we break down the New York Times top 100 best lists of this century.